Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chan's Logic, episode 9. We're almost in the double digits. Not quite, but we're really moving our way forward. I think in 35 years or so, we'll make it to episode 10. If we're not doing enough for you guys, just comment and say that we suck and we need to do more, and we will. But welcome to episode 9.
Hello.
This is Steph.
Yep.
She's a Capricorn.
No, I'm not.
She likes long walks on the beach and 100-degree heat.
Yes and no. Good try, though.
What is your astrological sign? Are you a Libra?
Sagittarius.
Oh, Sagittarius.
What? Anyways.
So this episode we have that's my phone. I'm always connected.
Turn it off.
So this episode we have a bunch of questions. So we're going to devote this one completely to questions because we have so many. We could probably get through them in 2 or 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to split them up.
Yeah, the old split-a-roo.
So if we don't answer them on this episode, they're in like a running list. So we'll get to them in the next few. So we'll try and be better about doing this weekly. It's been really busy.
And if you guys have questions, post them up in the comments or email it to us, Chandler@stoneagefield.com, or comment on one of our social media posts somewhere, or send us a pigeon letter. What do they call it?
Carrier pigeon?
Carrier pigeon. That's what it's called.
A pigeon letter. What in the world? All right. So anyways, the last couple episodes we have touched a lot on rebranding, and it's kind of a hard topic to just answer in a few minutes. It's probably a lot more complicated than people think. You can't just go slap a new name on your business and be like, sweet, I rebranded, yeah. Doesn't work like that. So people are still asking questions about it, so we're going to get a little bit more in depth on a few things. But I'll let Chan start that.
Why do I have to start it?
I don't know. Go for it.
Okay.
You wrote a whole guide on rebranding.
I did. I have several. We have lots of guides now. We have a Facebook guide, an Instagram guide, a YouTube guide, and there's like 57 others. I can't even remember. I just write them and then I forget what I did.
Facebook ads guide.
Blacked out. Yep. And there's
rebranding guide.
Webinars and videos associated with all those guides. Lots of cool stuff coming out.
Oh, there's lots. Okay.
So
anyways.
Rebranding. Your brand is everything. And so when you organize your first brand, it kind of defines who you are. It tells your story, and people start to perceive it as something. And so now if you want to change your brand, we have to be sure that we do it in a delicate way, that we don't confuse people, and we don't get 2 brands kind of mixed into one and create some weird story that doesn't make sense. So when we're looking at rebranding, what I like people to do is, and I think we've mentioned this in previous podcasts, is you just need to sit down and you need to write your story out. From beginning to end, where did you start? And how did you evolve to get to where you're at? How did you create one brand, and how did you decide that you were ready for another brand? If you can write that story out, then you'll understand who you are and who your brand should be. From there, what I would do is talk to all of my customers. So if you're in a gym or a store or whatever, you need to give your customers something that we call a probable purchaser questionnaire. And it's going to ask them, well, what were you looking for when you came to us? Why did you choose us? At this point, why have you stuck with us? What emotions were you feeling when you came to us? How did we solve those emotions? Did we solve those emotions? And then you're going to start to get pain points you can identify from these people. You're going to see, oh, I was frustrated. I was not motivated. I wasn't seeing results. I tried everything, and I was just on my last straw. You're going to see stuff like that. And then from there, you can create this brand around what your people are saying. Right, Steph?
Right.
So that brand, you're going to take the probable purchaser questionnaire, and basically you're going to use that to reverse engineer exactly what you need. And so there's a term we call this. It's called listening. So a lot of time with brands and with companies, they just want to throw away, and they want to throw hooks all the time. They want to sell to the customer 24/7, and they forget to listen. So I think the number one thing that we forget to do as businesses, and one thing that will define our brand and help us speak to the people we're trying to speak to, is actually listening to them. So just sitting down with them, filling out that probable purchaser questionnaire, talking to them about the emotions they were feeling, the emotions they are feeling, and how they feel about the future. If you solve those problems, what problems they had in the first place, and if any new ones have been created. And from there, you can start to write out kind of who you are, what your brand is, and you can combine that with your story to create one kind of unique total brand.
Mm-hmm. An example of how that kind of all plays out is with our brand, Stone Age Fuel. We started originally, like, our first sign and all of our like business cards and promo stuff, everything says CrossFit Stone Age Fuel. Because at that time we were like, yeah, CrossFit, woo, we CrossFit, go CrossFit, CrossFit. You know, we were like, yeah, we talk about CrossFit a lot. So as we evolved, it became more of, well, we're all just trying to stay fit, get healthy, be able to run some 5Ks, do some Tough Mudders, run around with the kids, go play at the lake, that kind of stuff. So we went from not so much of like, we want to be CrossFit competitors and go to the games. It all became more family oriented in our facility. Our demographic is a little bit older, so they're in here just so that they can stay healthy and feel good throughout the day. So our thing kind of evolved from that to being fit for life, which we say a lot.
Yeah, and so what we realized at the point to where CrossFit, which we love and practice and do all that, what we realized though is if you don't own your brand, you don't control the direction of your brand. So what we started seeing was CrossFit was promoting the CrossFit Games with the crazy people with their shirts off, slamming barbells and throwing tires and stuff, 24/7. And so that started to build the consumer perception around the brand. And the biggest thing you'd have to explain and talk about was why you don't do that, and why you're okay to be with normal people, and why you're just there to get them fit for life. But because of the way CrossFit built that, they created this connotation that it is only for elite people, and the public started to feel like that they weren't good enough for it. And CrossFit's doing a good job right now, I think, of actually trying to turn that image around. But at that point, we decided that we wanted to control the direction of our brand, and we didn't want to have to explain to people anymore why we are just there to get people fit for life, and why we're different, and why we're not just CrossFit so-and-so, because we're not the same. It's not a commodity, and everybody's owning and operating their own different thing, and we want to be different. So the whole point is you need to be able to own and control the direction of your brand. And so you have your brand, which is your defining factor and tells people what you are and who you are. And then you have things like associations. So we're associated with USA Weightlifting, but we're not USA Weightlifting Stone Age Fuel. When people want to do weightlifting, we tell them that that's part of one of the associations we're part of. Same thing with CrossFit. If you want to do our CrossFit program, that's something we're associated with, but it doesn't define our brand. We aren't devoted towards the games and all that. Our whole goal is to get people fit for life and just to make people happy so they can keep up with the kids. And so this whole thing we were just babbling about is the idea that create your own brand, control the direction of your brand, and if you write off someone else's brand, don't be mad when they throw something out that offends people, that kind of looks down on you, because it's your own fault. And for all those people who, I would say, hate on CrossFit for that kind of stuff, stop following them. If you're using everything under their name, they can do whatever they want with it. So don't complain, switch up, create your own thing, still have them as an association, still support them, but don't write off everything they do. So when you're focusing on a rebrand and you kind of want to migrate towards something else, a new logo, a new ideal, a new story, I think with your customers, the more transparent you are and the more you keep them involved, the more they start to understand why it's happening and the more supportive they're going to be about it. So I would say as you start to redesign a logo, as you write your story, share that with every one of your customers. Say, hey, check out what we're doing. We're focusing on a new realm. We want to build a new brand around this story and this idea. What do you guys think? And then they're going to give you all their comments, their thoughts, their ideas, and they're really going to feel like you're listening to them. Like that key word we keep talking about, listen. And because you're listening to them, they're going to feel like they're a part of your brand. You're going to develop a bigger and a better relationship with them in the long run. Plus, you're going to get valuable input on what they think. They are the consumer. They're the people who are purchasing your product, and what they say ultimately matters. And I think a lot of people get that confused. It's nobody cares what you want. Nobody cares what you want your brand to be. Nobody cares what you think it should be, but everybody cares, and what it really depends on is what the consumer perceives it as. And that's the key point in why we listen to them.
Yep.
Okay, so that's all done, right?
Let's change the name, website, Facebook, and other.
So what I would do when we start changing the name is go through, write your story out, get your probable purchaser questionnaires, define everything that you need to know about your brand, understand your direction, then start creating a name based off that. You should be able to take your story and make a one-word name off of your story.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it was Stone Age Fuel because it defines everything we kind of did, built up to, and came about. And so it's really unique for us to have, and that should be what you do too.
Right.
In developing yours. If you want to hear our story, watch episode 8. We talked all about it, kind of how we came out with it.
Yep.
It was pretty exciting. When you start changing things on your website is when we have to be pretty careful, and your Facebook, because we don't want to, you've been writing off another brand for a long time, we don't want to switch everything over right away because you're going to lose things like your Google rankings. You're not going to be ranked high up there, which you need to be, if you take everything away right away, because it's going to take a while to build back up. So what I think we should do, and what I think is a good strategy, is just start to phase out the old brand over time and phase in the new brand. So all the new content and the blog posts and the videos and pictures, you're going to use your new brand name, all your new brand words, and all the stuff associated with your new brand, and build that up over a period of, I'd say, at least 12 months. Once you hit that to 12 months, your brand is probably going to be strong enough to stand on its own, and you can completely eliminate the old brand. So it's monthly, start phasing things out.
Yeah.
Phase 1.
Cut it all at one time.
Yeah, phase 1, replace your logo. Put the new one on there. Phase 2, adjust all your new content around your old brand. Phase 3, start taking all the words that are associated with your old brand out and replacing them with new words. And this should be like months 1 through 3, months 3 through 6, months 6 through 9 is when you start taking those words out after you've produced enough content to make your brand strong enough. The idea here is, yes, you think your brand is valuable and you think your brand is worth it, but it's not developed enough for people to care. And so to the consumer, it's not worth it yet. They don't know who you are. You're not Nike. You're not Under Armour. You're not a big name, and you have to build that name in order to be comfortable in supporting just that name before you can get rid of the old one, especially if you've been riding off another big brand name.
Mm-hmm. This is your field of expertise.
Yeah, Steph hasn't said more than 3 words. Somebody asked what kind of eyelash color she likes or something.
What? That makes no sense.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Steph's part of the Zhang dynasty.
The what?
Her family were samurais
Oh, hush.
in the 1800s.
You're out of control. Keep this going.
Followers losing track of what's happening. I think the last question is really asking about kind of people just losing track of what's happening. And the way we get away from that, and the way we avoid that from happening, is being super transparent with them.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when I see companies have their customers vote on what their new brand logo should be, vote on their tagline, vote on all this stuff, and ask them what they think. It's just, the more you listen, the better off they're going to feel, and the less likely it is they will get lost or upset as you switch over. So I think that covers the branding portion of this and the rebranding kind of questions we had. There were a bunch of really good questions. If you guys have other questions associated with branding, let us know. We're happy to answer them. We're all about making sure you guys understand and giving value. So if we didn't talk about one thing enough, just say, hey, can you elaborate more on this subject? And then we'll go through it in another episode.
We can do that. Okay. Next topic.
So next topic is it's all around social media apps. When do we post? What's the best time to post? What are the top apps to use? And then why? Why is the big question? Because you can't just say something and not tell the why behind it, because social media is not linear. It's evolving. It's always going to be different, and things are changing all the time. So the first one is, how do you determine the time of day of post? So I think the biggest way, there's a couple ways to determine the time of day for posts. The first way, which is the most magic and voodoo-oriented way, is just pay attention to when people start liking stuff. So if you post something at 9 a.m. and people all of a sudden start liking it and sharing it at 7 p.m., you know 7 p.m. is your time. You can do that every day and write down a little map when people are doing that. The cool thing about social media nowadays is there's a lot of analytics behind it. So you can get on Facebook and you can go into your insights, and then you can look at the time of day when your people are on, and that's when you should post. So it's going to show a little graph, and based off that graph, you're going to say, oh man, nobody's online at 12 a.m. That's weird. But everybody's online at 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. Huh, that's before and after work. So those are your 2 times to post.
Yeah.
Or if you had a third time, like, oh, hey, people are on at noon, so maybe I should post then. So you want to post on the time of days where you see the pyramid kind of, or the hill going up the highest. And it's going to show you an average throughout the week too of what the times are that people are on based off of every day of the week. I recommend taking a calendar and writing down when people are on each specific day to make sure you kind of target.
Yep, Monday through Saturday.
Yep. So like for us, Wednesdays, people get out of work early, kids get out of school early, and all of a sudden our Wednesday, 3 p.m. is a popular time to post. Mm-hmm. So that's something to pay attention to, because 8 p.m. is not going to be the best every day.
Right.
And this is specifically for Facebook because they have really good metrics. Twitter has some pretty good metrics as well. If you look in the back on their insights, you can kind of see when people are reacting to it, when people are responding to it. I would look on that. Twitter for me is more about just listening though. And for me, it's not necessarily about posting. It's about typing in Twitter search, personal training in this location, or I want to find underwater basket weaving in Reno.
Oh God.
And so if I wanted to find under basket and I type that in the Twitter search box, I'm going to get a bunch of results that say, I'm looking for underwater basket weaving in Reno. And then I can comment and say, hey, I happen to know a lot about this. Is there anything I can help you with? I'm not going to sell them or anything. I'm just going to say, hey, I am an underwater basket weaving merit badge holder, and I can help you in whatever you need.
That was from a long time ago.
That was from a long time. That was like episode
like
2, I think.
2 maybe.
The
or
first
3, yeah.
were just rapid fire.
Oh my gosh.
I think they were slightly terrible.
They were.
But it was good info, I guess.
It was. And then I started.
Mm-hmm. Then Steph joined
better.
me. That's when it really went downhill.
Whatever.
So based on the apps, now that we're out of the Twitter sphere, the time of day does differ based on each app. You have Facebook Analytics, use Twitter for talking, or if you have high school students, it's really popular with them.
Yeah, all of our weightlifting kids are on Twitter more than anything.
Which brings up a good point. Best time of day to post on Twitter is when kids are in school.
In school?
Yeah, because they're in there and they're twittering about what they're going to do during school. One of the high school kids was telling me they Twitter about Twitter fights. And then they go out and they have real fights off the Twitter fights. And now the school police map out each school on the Twitter. And then they kind of watch what the kids are doing. And each school has a personality based off what area they're mapping.
Really?
Yeah. So, one school is the drunk kids. One school is like the kids who play tennis. One school is the kids who like lemonade. And it's all kinds of a whole little Twitter sphere of high school students.
Huh,
it's really popular amongst high schoolers.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So go do that if you have a target for high school age kids or anything like that. I know our weightlifting club, we have a lot of them. As soon as we put it on Twitter, it gets retweeted and liked by all the kids who are that age. And so that's what kind of gets into that market for us to help build our youth weightlifting program.
Mm-hmm. So different apps, yes, there are different times that you should be posting, which we were kind of getting into. Like he was saying, Facebook, you can look at your insights, check the analytics on it. Twitter, same thing. Instagram, not so much.
Yeah, and Instagram's kind of in a tear apart right now. They just introduced their business pages, which includes a lot of insights that you can actually pay attention to and watch. But they also still have the option to stay as a non-business page. And so like half people are on it, half the people aren't.
Mm-hmm.
I think eventually Instagram is going to be like Facebook where you have to pay to play. So everybody who's been riding off Instagram for free is going to get rude kick in the nuts pretty soon when they have to pay to play just like on
Yay.
Facebook. Because with the introduction of business pages allows you to segregate people into actual people and then pages and celebrities and all of that stuff. And with that comes an algorithm that's going to adjust your reach based off of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And Twitter didn't do this, and I think that's the reason they kind of really died out, because Twitter was on a deep decline for a long time. And hopefully the high school kids will pick it back up, because when it goes young, it goes old. But Instagram's trying to not let that happen and not let so much noise happen that you don't see anything. I know on my Instagram, I post and I look at 3 things, but there's always 18,000 different things that I don't want to look at. So then it's just clutter. And with the new business pages and eventually an algorithm that kind of makes those function properly, we'll start to see things from our friends and family that we actually want to see. And then businesses who want to get seen, you're going to have to pay to play. It's just part of the game. But Instagram, if you do want to look on insights, the business pages do have it available. I don't know. You can not switch now and delay forever, but ultimately you're going to have to do it eventually. And it's just going to be like Facebook eventually. I think, but based off of what we were saying earlier, you can also do this thing we call paying attention on Instagram. So when you post something, if you post something at 10 in the morning or something and you get half a like, you know that was probably a terrible time to post.
Yeah.
If you post something at 8:30 p.m. and you get a couple of hundred, that's your ideal time to post. And what I found is 8:30 p.m. is the optimal time to post on Instagram for almost everything, almost every day.
It's because, for the most part, people get on Instagram and they're laying in bed and they're just scrolling through pictures. That's what I like about it. It's like Pinterest. You can just scroll through all the pictures.
Yeah.
You don't have to really interact. It's just scrolling and you get to see all kinds of things.
That's true. Looking at things like Pinterest, they have a lot of good analytics. Pinterest is cool if you got moms. It's a big mom-friendly thing. The pictures are also highly searchable. It's like the image searching form of Google.
Yeah, it's like Google.
So definitely look into that app. But to sum it all up, you either have to pay attention or watch your analytics. And you've got analytics on most of the platforms. The only one I don't think you have analytics on right now is Snapchat.
Yeah.
Because Snapchat doesn't really have anything like that unless you're spending $10,000 a month on their advertising platforms with some of the larger companies.
Right.
But you can pay attention on Snapchat too, so you can load stuff up, and usually because it's a 24-hour thing, you can pay attention to each day and how many views you get on each picture and photo and all that stuff, or in video, and you can see which days get more views, which days get better views, what times you get the most views at, and you can kind of organize a strategy around Snapchat as well.
I think Snapchat's kind of an evening thing too, though, because it's just something that people can start and just click through and watch or not watch, and that's kind of a do while you're just sitting there doing nothing kind of thing.
Yeah, it's true. You just kind of, Snapchat has the most engagement because as soon as you get on it, you're just like this. You don't even know where you're at. 25 minutes later, you wake up and you've watched all the snaps from people.
Yeah.
You don't even know what just happened. So Snapchat, it gets a lot of engagement, and this brings up into our next question of what are our top 3 social apps to be on and why? So for us, there's almost 4 now. Facebook is really big for our adult population. Every one of our adults are on Facebook. The advertising in Facebook is second to none. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything out there on the planet that can beat Facebook in terms of advertising and the potential to target and find the demographics you want to kind of look for. So Facebook is probably the number 1 driver for our adult program. It's not a very big driver for our youth program. It just tends to be kids say Facebook people are too old and they don't want to be on it.
That is true. They have them, but they hardly use them. They're hardly ever on.
Or they tell me they don't know how to use it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think Facebook is number 1 for our adults. I think our population is probably 35 and older in our gym. It allows us to target that age group, the personalities behind the probable purchaser questionnaires we come out with, which are the pain points that they're experiencing before they come in, so that way we can already make sure they're a good fit for us. So that's number 1. I'd say number 2, it was probably Instagram for a long time for our youth program
Yeah.
because we were able to do things with companies like one of the biggest and one of my favorite companies in the world is Caffeine and Kilos.
Mhm.
They've been, this is called like working with another company that has a big following, but they've been one of the biggest factors in making our youth program grow like it is because they've been so supportive of all our kids.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this, go buy stuff from Caffeine and Kilos because those guys are amazing.
Yes, they are.
They've even come to town before and taken all of our kids to dinner.
Yeah.
And so it's stuff like that that kind of helps your Instagram presence grow. And it also shows how much support some of these companies will give you and how much they actually care.
Right.
I think C&K is probably the only one that goes that far, which is why we jump off a 2-story building for them.
2-story.
Yeah.
Maybe a 3. Like
Maybe.
you could ballsy with that.
That's true.
2 is like your norm, so
Yeah.
maybe a
Makes sense.
3-story.
Could go 3 stories. That would hurt though. So I think,
and then what?
well, I think Instagram is good. It's really good for the youth program. I think Instagram's also good if you do things like online programming or you sell apparel because that's where you're going to sell everything.
Mhm.
That's where you can build a following and get people kind of wearing your stuff. It's good for our youth programs. Kids are still on it. They're moving over to Snapchat a lot more. I would say our tied for second and third place would be Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Those 3 have become really popular for us in building our kids program. Snapchat, because every single kid in the history of the world is on it. They're 13 to about 34 is the age bracket on there. And so we really can, all the kids follow our Stone Age Fuel page. And if you follow that on Snapchat, it's just Stone Age Fuel. But it's just our kids lifting. And then I like to take pictures of the gym people and put smiley faces on them. And then put poop on Steph's face because she's big.
I always have poop on my face.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So we like to do that. Snapchat for us is about being kooky and fun, and that's what the kids like about it. They can watch their friends, and they can Snapchat themselves. They'll often ask us to do it.
Yeah, they talk back and forth like it's like Instagram, or I mean, like a messenger sort of thing. They'll just like take a picture. I mean, I've seen kids take a picture of like a rock, and then put words to send back to their friend. I'm like, what did you even? Like, oh, I just needed to tell them something. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. The kids love it. And then I think the next one, which we've been working, I would say a little bit more since we started to figure out that the high school population is involved in it, is Twitter. So now if you follow our platforms, you'll notice Twitter and Snapchat are almost devoted to kids. Facebook is pretty much adults with a cute kid once in a while because everybody loves the adorbs section of kids.
Yeah.
Instagram is kind of a mixture because our adults are starting to move over there. And then Twitter is all high school kids. All of our weightlifting is so Snapchat,
Right.
youth stuff. Twitter is really good. You tell your high school kids, follow us on Twitter. They follow you. And then you post it up, you tag them in it, they share it, and all of a sudden 57 of their friends are liking it, paying attention to it. So Twitter's not necessarily about following, it's about looking for the right people and asking questions and searching.
Yeah. So those are probably the top ones.
Yeah, I guess we have 4.
There's 4 now.
But for you, if you focus on an adult program exclusively, that's Facebook number 1. If you were going to do anything else, it would be Facebook. And we'd probably throw in YouTube. We use YouTube quite a bit. YouTube's really cool because you can make videos and put them on your blog and stuff like that with technique and talking. But now you can put your videos directly on Facebook, which gives you a lot more reach. So that's probably a topic for another
day.
show. But I think if you're just focusing on adults, Facebook's number 1. And then it would probably be YouTube. So then you're searchable on Google.
Yes.
If you have adults and kids, you're probably looking at Facebook, and then you're going to have to add in Twitter or Snapchat. Snapchat if you have a younger demographic, like middle school. And Twitter if you have a high school demographic.
Yeah.
And then if you want to get really young, it's all about Musical.ly. All right. So we could probably do a whole episode devoted to all these apps because I just kind of threw them up all over everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
But so that kind of defines it. Your 3 top apps are defined as on what your business is most kind of targeted towards and who your demographic is.
Yep. So when you figure that out, you'll be able to figure out what are your top apps to be on.
Yeah. And then you get the crowd. You get different kind of groups too. So you look at the CrossFit crowd. That's really big on Instagram.
Mhm.
It's going to grow into Snapchat pretty heavily, I think, and it's big on Facebook because they
Kinda
like to
hard on
share videos
Snapchat.
and stuff. Yeah,
You have to be recording yourself.
yeah.
I
like
guess
to,
you can have a friend record you
or you can just record yourself exercising.
while you're exercising. Yeah.
Which brings me to my thought of the day.
Oh,
Stop doing Facebook Live of you doing burpees. It's
Yeah.
boring. It's ruining Facebook Live for the rest of us. And a squirrel just tipped the phone. Okay, well, I think that wraps up the show for this week.
Yeah.
If you guys have questions off of what we just talked about, ask them in the comments or send us an email. You can add us on all the social networks if you want. You'll see that pop up.
Yep.
Pretty soon. Steph's not technologically advanced enough to make it pop up when I do this, but it'll show up after we're done talking.
Rude.
Also, if you're on the podcast, you have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
I was just throwing my hands in the air and waving them like I just don't care.
Oh, gosh.
All right. Well, if you got questions, if we didn't talk about something enough, ask us to elaborate and we'll answer the rest. We got a ton more for the next episode too, so
Yes.
stay tuned. Thanks for watching Chan's Logic.
Chan's Logic. Bye.
Bye, everybody.